happy it's Good Friday, and this is the day Jesus died for all of our sins. So, you know what? Have fun. It's all paid for. You're playing with the house money. Oh, just same way it is. It's tax day, or was. I think AOC should be the candidate. Do you?
No. I mean,
okay.
No, I'm not saying. I mean, like, it's not my job to pick who the candidate is going to be.
Oh, it's mine.
Yeah.
And it's not. It shouldn't be her.
Maybe you should talk to the.
Hey everyone, today's the day we remember that Jesus died for all our sins, which basically means, according to the ultimate spiritual cheat code, you're playing with house money. It's all paid for, baby, so live a little. And if you're also still recovering from tax day ... Yeah, same. Jesus and the IRS both demand sacrifices, but only one offers eternal salvation. Speaking of redemption stories, though, have you heard what's going on with Bill Maher?
His monologue. Even though I disagree with most everything he believes politically, he was right to do this and he was right to speak out about it. But this isn't about that dinner. It's about the next one, because this is the modern left. It's an attempt always to intimidate people into not ever doing it again. It's to silence yourselves, or we'll do it for you. That's the purpose of this op-ed, so that the next comedian or the next person on the American left chooses not to speak to Donald Trump. This is all an effort to get people not to do what you just said, which is to talk to.
I voted for Obama. I voted for Clinton. But the idea that I could talk to them as freely as I felt this conversation was going is emblematic to me of why the Democrats lose the elections, because they just don't feel that this is like a real person. And I know it's so weird to say that about Donald Trump, who I've said a jillion times is, you know, a whiny little bitch. I mean, I could go through my greatest hits of like insults, but this was about getting past that and maybe seeing that if we met in person, we don't hate each other as much, and we don't. And I'm sorry, I'm not gonna like pretend that's a bad.
Bill Maher had dinner with Donald Trump. Yeah, that's a sentence I didn't expect to say in 2025 either. And honestly, a lot of people, especially on the left, had a visceral reaction to it. Like, wait, what? This is the same Maher who's been roasting Trump for years on HBO. The guy who called him a wannabe dictator and made Trump jokes a weekly tradition. But here we are, Maher sitting down with Trump for what looked like a full-course dinner. Not a debate, not a shouting match, just dinner. Civil, calm, even respectful. And once that news broke, things got dramatic fast. Twitter, sorry, X, lit up like a Christmas tree in Brooklyn. Suddenly, Maher was getting labeled everything from a sellout to a fascist enabler. You'd think he endorsed Trump 2024 with a MAGA hat and a selfie. But no, it was literally just dinner. In today's climate, though, that's all it takes to spark a full-blown political wildfire.
I'm sorry, this is like someone who talked about black people his whole life and then had dinner with one and said, actually, after I had dinner with them, they're not that bad, guys. No, you don't get to do that, you coward. You went on a show and you tried to play both sides of the street.
That's right.
Why? So maybe he could do your show, because the 300,000 people that watch it, if we had those numbers here, I wouldn't be here. These dudes make me laugh. Cowards die 1,000 deaths. You said things about President Trump nonstop. You had no reference point. That's all you proved to me. You sit down with a man, you break bread with a man, then you come and say, well, on this night, he was okay, but don't be mad at me. Splitting hairs. Man up. I don't know what this whole thing, everyone keeps acting like they need Bill Maher. The little guy who doesn't lift weights, 99% of the internet, what, MySpace? Come on, man. This dude represents nobody. A PR stunt for who? I'm sorry, I missed the Oval Office Rose Garden meeting where President Trump was talking about Bill Maher was there.
Yeah.
I missed that one.
Yeah.
He's talking about it. President's not talking about it. He doesn't need Bill Maher. He's got 70% of the country cheering him on. He walked into UFC. The place was crazy.
Then why did he accept dinner with him if he didn't?
Because he's like everybody else.
No, why did Trump?
Because that's who Trump is. He will break bread with anyone. He will sit with Kim Jong-un and break bread. So little punk ass Bill Maher coming to the house and sitting in the seat. And what did Trump did? He was gracious. He treated him. Everything. He had to leave and come back and go, he wasn't any of the things I said, because you were part of the machine. You were part of the thing. He wasn't as bad as Joe and Micah was, where he's sharp as a tack, but he led the charge. He continued to say things that weren't true. He supported things without ever bothering to say, hey, you know what? I want to sit down and, I have a problem with someone. If I had a problem with Johnny and me and him had a problem, I'd be like, we need to sit down and talk, before I would go out on social media and talk about him. But he needs President Trump.
And I'd say, let
he
me have
needs
a
the
weapon
audience.
first.
Yes, yeah. Well, you know. But at this point, to coin one of the greatest, funniest phrases in all of comedy, I would ask Bill Maher to step in my office, and he would say, why? Because he's fired.
The Israel-Palestine conflict, for example. To Maher, it's a decades-long, messy situation full of tragedy and blame. On both sides, way too complex for a quick meme. But for a lot of the Gen Z outrage machine, it's boiled down to good guys versus bad guys. No questions asked. You post the right flag, say the right thing, or you're the enemy. That's the world Maher walked into with his Trump dinner. A world where nuance isn't just ignored, it's treated like betrayal. And honestly, that might be the real culture war now. People who believe conversations solve problems versus people who think conversations are the
You can look it up. It's in this book called The Bible. It says the Jews built a temple with a really big wall 7 centuries before Muhammad or Islam ever existed, and sure as shit, you can still go there and touch it. Calling Jews colonizers in Israel is like calling Native Americans colonizers here. It's ridiculous. To mark the October 7th anniversary, we must launch a campaign to educate young Americans about the Middle East. And the way I'd like to begin that process is by addressing an open letter to Chapel Roan, a great new recording artist who, like a Hezbollah pager, is really blowing up. Chapel, if you think it was repressive growing up queer in the Midwest, try the Mideast. Chapel, did you know that for 2,000 years, Palestine was like an Uber driver with a 3-star rating? Nobody wanted it. And there was never any Arab country called Palestine. Chapel, you're not wrong that oppression is bad, or that Palestinian and many other Muslim populations are oppressed and deserve to be freed. You just have it completely ass backwards as to who is doing the oppressing. Hamas is a terrorist mafia that took over Gaza. These are the oppressors. And when you make it all about Israel, you take the pressure off of them. You enable them. Gender may not be binary, but right and wrong.
gave his take, sharp, historical, controversial, and TikTok exploded. Not with the counterpoints, but cancellations. You could practically hear the unfollows racking up. Still, Maher stayed unbothered. He's not trying to trend. He's just being himself, for better or worse. Meanwhile, Gen Z's activist wing has crowned influencers who treat every disagreement like a personal trauma. It's not just a generational gap, it's a philosophical one. Maher's point is simple. Disagree, debate, throw shade. Just don't. Shut it down. And when it comes to gender identity and sports, that's where Maher really lit the match. While Hollywood tiptoes, he dove right in, no PR filter, no apologies. He didn't bash trans people. He made it clear everyone deserves rights and dignity. But he did question whether ideological purity is trumping common sense, especially in sports. And for that, instant digital DOGPILE.
Horse.
I mean,
Of all the low-lying fruit that the Democrats just like hand the Republicans to win elections, that's the one.
you know, it's so funny. I joked around with my team the other day. I said, are they really going to just let us win every national election on this no men and female sports thing?
Right.
Like, they can't surrender on this one issue.
It's so ridiculous.
It's a 90-10 issue.
Yeah.
There's 890 medals and trophies of men winning these competitions.
You lost Gavin Newsom on this. Okay? Take that as a hint, right? I mean, I think you were
I was the one that asked the question.
Right. Yeah.
And he said, issue of fairness.
We're not saying there's not such a thing as trans, right? We're not saying there's not such a thing as someone who was quote unquote born in the wrong body.
I don't think people get born in the wrong body now.
Oh, I do.
I do.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a default setting for, like, we should acknowledge that. It's not just every time there's a baby, ooh, who knows what the f*** it is. That's crazy. But
Beyond me. Yeah.
but there are variations.
There are variations.
Homosexuality.
That's right. It's a continuum.
And then, but it's how we handle that.
That's right.
I mean, I think we would agree that children, and this is where America is now an outlier country. We're the only country that went full, and I guess Trump is reversing it, but certainly under Biden, who went fully toward that. Like, we don't care what age, kids can self-diagnose themselves. I mean, that to me was going way too far on this. Again, nobody just comes back to the sensible center.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the sensible center is that, like, you respect people, you trust parents, you let parents figure out what to do with their kids, and you don't need a bunch of politicians in Washington making decisions about
That is not the Democratic position, at least here in California.
Well, that's my position.
I'm good. I think that's where the Democratic Party should. That is not the position that we've had here in California, which is like, don't tell the parents what the kids are doing at school. That's and that you really alienate voters.
Yeah.
Parents are voters. When you're not a parent yet, it's like, voting, whatever.
Sex is not a spectrum. I mean, it's male and female. There are some people with very unusual conditions who deserve absolute sympathy and support. But that does not mean that we're a hermaphroditic species. We're just not.
No, but
that's
not
it.
No, not the whole species. But this goes back. I mean, I don't want to use the term chicks with dicks, but I could.
You did.
This goes back to like ancient Rome, and like there was always people who were like not quite.
It's not hard to get to toleration and acceptance.
Bill Maher's take was simple. Biology matters, especially in sports. Saying that isn't transphobic. It's common sense. And honestly, a lot of liberals and parents agreed, even if they didn't say it out loud. When people see a biological male winning women's events, they notice. They don't hate anyone, they just know something's off. But online, even asking the question gets you labeled a villain. Maher didn't flinch. He wore the backlash like armor. He even joked Democrats are giving Republicans the win by ignoring reality, and he's not wrong. Most Americans, not just conservatives, think this stuff's gone too far. Maher's not out to hurt anyone. He's just refusing to pretend, and that's why it matters. He's not just poking the bear. He's calling out a culture that cancels anyone who thinks for themselves. Maher's showing you can be liberal without being radical. You can question the noise without selling your soul. Bottom line? Maher's hitting a nerve because millions are feeling it too, tired of the extremes. Craving some real talk. Whether you love him or think he's just stirring things up, he's forcing a conversation America's been too scared to have. If you're into real takes that cut through the noise, hit like, subscribe, and let me know. Is Maher ahead of the curve or just causing chaos? Because ready or not, this is the culture war. And we're all part of it.